We did it! We did it. All right. Boy, that one took a while. All right. First things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we have beaten... Oh, we've got to change this. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 125 games in 2023, which is true and will never change. But in 2024, we have now beaten one game, and 448 since we started doing this in 2020. Awesome. Okay, I have a lot to say, probably. This is going to be a long video. I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. Let's just start basic stuff. Let's start with the best things about this game. I need to... Is this going to be spoilery? Nah, probably not, right? The story in this game is the best, I think, the best story I have played in a video game in at least a year. I ranked Sea of Stars as the best story of any game I played in 2023. Just straight story, just plot. And this is definitely better than Sea of Stars. So by that logic, this is the best story I've played in a video game in at least a year. And thinking about all the games I played last year, there were a lot of really great games, the story, I think, in this game is the best. Is this the... I mean, I don't think it's maybe... I wouldn't say it's the best story of any game ever, probably. I'd have to think about it, because I don't rank games usually by that, and plot, story is not one of the things that usually determines how much I like a game, and this game is no exception. We'll get to that in a second. But the story is god tier. If you like games like those JRPGs, like certain Final Fantasy games or whatever, where the story is like really crazy, but it's not too hard to follow, like I'm barely paying attention, and I pretty much got the gist of the story. Like, it's not overly complicated or obtuse, but it is very intriguing, and there are like 50 plot twists. And they're all insane, and they get more and more insane as the game goes on. That is remarkable. There is a remarkable... it is remarkable how awesome the story in this game is. It is one of the best stories in a video game I have ever played. No doubt about it. It is an insane story, and it is amazing. The RPG mechanics. There's a lot of complexity. And there's a lot to do when it comes to, when you gain levels, choosing things to upgrade and choosing skills and upgrading certain things and focusing on certain builds for your characters. There's a lot of meat on that bone, a lot. Maybe a little too much. We'll get to that in a second. But there's a lot. And it is very satisfying, a lot of it. So that's a win too. Put that in the win column as well. The art design of this game is gorgeous. It is a beautiful game. It looks so good. There aren't many games that have done as good a job of the retro style pixel art style as this. This nails that. So there's another win there's another W. I think that's the main things. The story is amazing. That's the best part of the game, for sure. It's not even close. And the RPG mechanics and upgrade, like the upgrade mechanics and the grind of upgrading your characters and your party is great. And the way that the game looks, sounds, all that stuff is on point. You would think after saying all those things that this game would rank really high, but it's not going to for me. And that is because of mostly stuff that's a me problem. It's not actually because of anything bad about this game. There are a couple of things about this game that I think are not perfect. I think that when you get into those RPG mechanics, the game does not always do a very good job of explaining how to use them. There were many parts, several aspects of choosing what to upgrade and things that I just simply did not understand. And some of it may have been because I wasn't listening well enough, but I don't think all of it was. Specifically, like how to spend your skill points. No idea that was even a thing until it was pointed out to me by someone else. There were other aspects of that too. That it's like how the sky armor affects your abilities. Some of the without going into too much detail, there was a lot that I think could have been explained more clearly, and so I think they dropped the ball a little bit on some of just the easing you into those mechanics and making sure that the player understands how to use them. There was a lot going on, and I didn't understand a large portion of it, and some of that is my fault for not paying enough attention, for not being engaged enough. Because this is a long game, and I don't do very well with it. We'll get to that in a second. But I think even considering all that, this game could have done a much better job of explaining how the mechanics worked in it, especially when it came to like improving your characters and upgrading them and how your party works and all that stuff. I also think that the UI has some serious problems. There's two main things that I can think of right off the top of my head that the UI is just bad. The map and the waypoints are bad. I think they're objectively bad. It takes too many clicks to get to certain things. If you want to teleport, it takes too many clicks. Teleporting, there's just a lot of weird, dumb logic. Like, oh, but if you're in your airship, you can't teleport. Why? Why can't I teleport? There's places I can't get to in my ship because I'm on the ship. That doesn't make any sense. I should have more mobility on the ship. And so fast travel doesn't work on the ship. When there were many, many times in the game where the waypoint where it was telling me where to go either was just straight up wrong and just was telling me something that wasn't right because it hadn't updated quickly enough, like it didn't update enough, or because it's pointing to the wrong part of the map, or it was pointing to something that it's like, oh yeah, you go here for this quest, but actually you got to do this other thing first, and we're just not gonna tell you about that, and so you just got to figure that shit out. And there were like certain places, like your home hub that you get eventually in the game, just doesn't have a map, and it's pretty labyrinthian, and you need to know where to go sometimes, and the game just won't give you a map in that place. And there were multiple quests that in order to start them, you had to go to a certain place that the game just wouldn't tell you where to go. And so a lot of that with the map and the waypoints was bad. And the UI, too. Like, if you're trying to buy and sell stuff in this game, good luck. It is I think it's objectively bad. You have to... the way that you have to click on things, I've got to click on the item and then arrow over and then choose up arrow for how many I want, and then don't hit back, hit confirm. If you hit back, it's going to back out of the whole sale, and you have to start over again. When you're spending multiple minutes just trying to figure out what button combination to push to make sure that you actually sell your items instead of accidentally backing out, that's a bad sign. So I think that the UI there, when it came to like the merchants, was bad. I think it was just bad. So a lot of the UI stuff really bugged me. Now let's move on to what the real problem is with this game, which is that this game is not bad. This is a very, very good game, but there were things about it that did not line up with my preference. This is a long game, which I was prepared for because I know it's a JRPG. I looked up how long to beat. I knew what I was getting into. But it is a long game that's got the way that the missions are lined up. I like that it had a quest list. A lot of JRPGs don't, so it was really easy for me to divide up the videos. But it did that thing that I have a pet peeve about, where some missions were 10 minutes long, and some were 5 hours. And so that's not a knock on the actual game. That's not an objective problem. That's just something that I don't like. Because I like being like, all right, I've got 2 hours to do this video. I'm going to sit down and do it right now. And then like 2.5 hours in, I'm like, I got to go to bed. And the last 3 missions took me less than an hour. Why is this one suddenly taking 3 hours? There was a lot of that. I can't fault the game for that. That's just a preference of my own. Also, this game does this thing. So a lot of newer JRPGs that are trying to be like older JRPGs are trying to find ways to jazz up the formula. So for instance, in Sea of Stars, they had those things like during combat where you'd have like quick QTEs basically during combat where you have to hit them. And so it's just, it mixes it up a little, it keeps it fresh. It makes it so it's not just turn-based battle after another, right? Cool, like that, that's fine. This game, one of the ways that it would jazz up the gameplay is that when you were in areas, they would have what were essentially environmental puzzles. And it did this a lot. Or you go into this area and you have to solve some kind of environmental puzzle. It reminded me actually more of like a survival horror game than anything else, where it's like, okay, there's 3 keys in this area. You got to get the bronze key so that you can unlock these doors to get the silver key, and then eventually work your way back over here, get the gold key, and unlock the gold door. It was a lot of stuff like that. Or you got to move this bridge to here, so you can get down this path and raise this gate, so you can get under this part to raise this other gate over here, which is where you're really trying to go. Or you got to find these 3 items in the environment somewhere. Until you find those items, you can't move on. So a lot of stuff like that. I appreciate that they were trying to jazz it up, but for me, personally, that just pissed me the fuck off. Because I'm trying to hurry through these games, and I'm just trying to do what I think I'm supposed to do, like in a JRPG like Sea of Stars or Final Fantasy, where it's just like I'm just going to the next place, and then suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, I've got to solve some... And they were kind of tough, some of them. Pretty tough puzzles, environmental puzzles where you got to push blocks or boulders or whatever. A lot of stuff like that, and for me... in the mode that I was in, for what kind of game this is, I just was not feeling it, and they made me really irritated, and I was very impatient with them. And I would just look it up. There were once or twice that I would just say, fuck, I'm not doing this. I'll look it up. So I didn't like that. But again, that's not a knock on the game. They're doing a good job by jazzing that kind of thing up, keeping it fresh. Probably most people that played this game liked that. I did not. I did not like it. It was just another obstacle for me, and it was irritating. Ultimately, though, the key takeaway about this game is that I have learned something about how I enjoy and engage with JRPGs or turn-based RPGs, and that I don't like them very much. Really is the bottom line. The best thing about them usually for me is the story. And I don't usually care that much about story. So even in a game like this where the story is absolutely incredible, it's not really enough to keep me going through a 30-hour game. But what does keep me going very often, like in something like Sea of Stars, or some of the earlier Final Fantasy games, is that they're fairly easy. They're pretty easy. This game is not easy. It is a much more challenging game than I was expecting, and the combination of the length of the game, the level of challenge, and then all these obstacles like environmental puzzles and backtracking and things, and having to wrestle with the map and the waypoints and the UI, that brought me to a level at a certain point where I was hating this game. And I just want to be clear, that's not really the game's fault. It says a lot more. It doesn't really say anything about the game. It says a lot about me. And so I just need to understand that, A, I probably shouldn't play turn-based RPGs that often. There are a few that I know I want to play because they're just that important, like the Final Fantasy games, right? But like, I'm not going to go out and play Persona because I know that I'm going to fucking hate it. And they're way too long. And there's just a lot of games like that I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to play a lot of turn-based RPGs. I'm just not going to do it. And it's not because they're bad. It's because I just don't. It just doesn't really jive with what I'm trying to do, you know. So I'm still gonna play them occasionally, but I need to understand that if they're not easy, I'm probably not gonna have that much fun with them, because I really just enjoyed experiencing the story in this game, and really the gameplay stuff and the challenges of this game were just getting in my way, you know. And normally I don't feel that way. Like if I'm playing a action adventure or a Souls-like or something, the challenge is what the game is about. For me, it just didn't feel that way with this game, and it doesn't usually feel that way with me with turn-based RPGs. So I'm gonna probably not play that many. I think I'm glad that I played this game because it taught me that. But if Chained Echoes 2 comes out next year, I'm probably not going to play it. Probably not. I'll read the wiki. That's it. Overall, this is one of those games where I come away from it thinking, this is a great game. It's a shame that I wasn't able to appreciate it as much as it should be appreciated. But if you are a fan of turn-based RPGs and classic retro RPGs and all that stuff, this is a must-play, absolutely. You know, as far as where I'm going to rank it, it's going to suffer because of stuff that has nothing to do with it. And it's because of me. Like, it's probably not going to rank as high as Sea of Stars, but objectively, this is a better game than Sea of Stars, without a doubt. It's objectively a better game than Sea of Stars, but I didn't enjoy it as much because it wasn't as easy. That's where my rankings can be a bit flawed, you know, because it's about how happy they make me. Sea of Stars made me happier because I enjoyed the story and kind of just going through the game without much of a challenge. This game, I rage quit a few times. There were moments that I wasn't sure I was even going to finish it, even late into the game, because I was that upset about one thing or another. And really, I have no right to be that upset. So, you know, I'll take the L on that one, because that's all of that's on me. All right, well, we did it. We've beaten our first game of 2024. It was like pulling teeth for me, but we definitely finally did it. We've been playing this game for 39 hours! Are you serious? I don't play any game that long. All right, last order of business. Chained Echoes, thank you for allowing us to play you. I'm sorry that we didn't have the capability of appreciating you the way you deserved, but we still appreciate that you allowed us to play you. But we're not going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Okay. Bye!